All right, we got JD Pikel's LSU 2025 football record prediction. Now, JD, is anything worse than 10-2? You and I are gonna have some problems, okay? We're gonna have some problems, JD. So, 10-2 or better. Let's go.
What's the final record going to be for the LSU Tigers when the sun sets on the 2025?
Y'all, you've been saying some pretty damn good things about us. You know, calling us a wagon this year, saying we could very well win the national title. You know, you like us to win the SEC this year, man. 10-2 or better.
Regular season. We're going to predict it right now, game by game. Before we do that, LSU
Yes,
fans,
sir.
make sure you're subscribed.
I'm gonna do my predictions too whenever he throws that schedule up there.
To the show as of late, so we appreciate y'all for that. But if you haven't yet, no time like the present. Massive 1 week one. We'll do a full preview and prediction on that game in itself during the game week. So the bottom line here is if you want more LSU content or you're just a college football sicko, make sure you're locked in. Make sure you're subscribed. So here's my thing with LSU, man. I think I'm in love. Yep,
me too.
I don't care who knows it. Shout out Buddy the Elf. The portal class is awesome.
Yep.
Garrett Nussmeier in his second year in
the amount of speed on this team too. The amount of speed on this team is absolutely absurd. This offense is quick as hell. The defense is gonna be the best it's been in a long time. Hopefully, it should be. And like Nussmeier going into year 2, you know, when it comes to like a quarterback being at LSU for 2 years, you look at Joe Burrow was here for 2 years, Jaden Daniels was here for 2 years. For both Burrow and Daniels, the first years for them here at LSU, they were solid. You know, they were okay. They weren't nothing great. But then year 2, they took a massive freaking jump. Record-breaking years. Obviously, everybody knows how Burrow did. Everybody knows how Daniels did in year 2 when they both won the Heisman. Nussmeier in year 1 had 4,000 passing yards. Like, he had a crazy good season. The turnovers are a problem, and he needs to cut down on that. But he's a freaking gunslinger, man. In his first year, he played better than both Burrow and Daniels in their first years. Now, can Nuss take that second year jump? I'm not saying he's going to be the next Joe Burrow or Jaden Daniels. You can't expect that out of somebody, but you can expect him to take a step forward. I think he will. There's nothing he hasn't seen now. Last year was his first time as a starter. You know, a lot of environments, on the road to A&M, that really rattled him. He's used to that now. So, this team is set up perfectly, man. Perfectly.
System with the same OC, and then Blake Baker's back as the DC, and the defense, honestly, I think should be even better positioned because of how good that offense is going to be. Like, there's a lot I like, dare I say, what I just said, love about LSU. Now, here's the funny thing about being in love. There's always a point now where you got to decide, is this real, or do I just love the idea of this? You know what I'm saying? And I think the decision I have to come to, or the conversation I have to have, is do I actually love this roster, or do I love the idea of this roster? Because as much as I love Garrett Nussmeier,
I love the roster, man.
And Nuss told us in Atlanta for SEC Media Days, there's no receiver that he believes runs over a 4.4, which even if it's not true, it's a wild thing.
It doesn't feel like it's true.
The offensive line.
Like, it feels like that is true, bro. Like, there's so many fast receivers on this freaking team, man.
You lose Will Campbell. You lose 2 other pieces, I believe. Like, it's a different looking offensive line, to say the least.
And we got one of the best O-line coaches in the country. So
here's my reassurance. I think what you did via the portal and who you have at quarterback and that receiving core, to me, makes that job easier up front. Now, I'm not saying it's going to
be able to run the ball, though,
in the park because you got Garrett Nussmeier at quarterback. What I am saying, though, is because of the experience you have with a guy pulling the trigger, can make quicker decisions. If you have the receiving core the caliber of what Garrett Nussmeier says you have with Barry and Brown, Nick Anderson, Chris Hill, like we can
Aaron Anderson,
thing, and that'd be fun for all of us. But let's get to the point here. You have guys that get open more quickly. You have to block for less time. Just kind of how football works. But the point I'm trying to make is I do love LSU. All right, so yes, you can talk about the idea of it, but I do love LSU. Now, the defense in itself, I told you I like the overall temperature that they're playing at. Blake Baker coming over from Missouri a year ago. He's back for another go at it. he wants to apply pressure. He wants to play aggressive. And
I like that.
Y'all are dialed into just what LSU defense has been over the course of the last decade plus. That's kind of their MO. They are the enforcers, hammering out the nail kind of vibe.
I love that, man.
Harold Perkins back for another year. Kind of do this every single year, but I'm ready to get hurt one more time, and I'm believing in it. They're going to, I think, utilize Harold Perkins with what he does best. Which
I
is
hope so.
Brian Kelly kind of alluded to it as much during SEC Media Days. He said, we're going to put Harold in position to do what he does best, which to me means he's going to go get after the quarterback.
I hope so.
Weeks, he's back for another year. There's a lot of names, plus all the portal pieces that not just add top-end talent, but add depth. All right, so that's how I feel about the LSU defense overall. Now, you can talk about the roster, but rosters only get you so far. What are the intangibles for LSU? Can't quantify them right now, but here's what I will say. I think the continuity at the most important spots on this football team, when you look at leadership, I think it's the best in the country. Like LSU will play 2 teams on their schedule that bring back the quarterback that started game 1 a year ago, bring back the same OC, DC, and head coach. Those 2 schools that I can gather right now in the SEC at least are Arkansas and Vanderbilt. So again, speaking just to the SEC, I'll take LSU over those 2 teams with that, matchup of that nucleus of leadership positions every single day of the week. Just how I feel about it. I'll say this. I think it's the best in the country when you talk about that nucleus of returning quarterback that started game 1, again, OCDC head coach. Like that's.
I don't think it gets much better than
all
that.
There for me. Now, people are going to say, well, Brian Kelly's going to hold him back. And I've done the whole soapbox thing about how he's coached for X amount of years and won over 70% of his games. We don't need to revisit that. But I think that when you're an old school coach, kind of like how I think Brian Kelly operates, I don't think that's for everybody. And I think it takes some time for that to eventually start to work. Like I think it's an acquired taste, but going on yet another year for Brian Kelly in Baton Rouge, like going on year 4, I think this is kind of the spot where if you're at LSU or you've stayed at LSU or you've committed to LSU, at this point, you're in. You're in for it. You are buying into the way that Brian Kelly is doing things. So for better or for worse, you are all right now on the same page. And I think it takes a little bit longer with how Brian Kelly operates for that to be the reality. So how I feel about it, I feel great.
That's like the biggest thing people keep saying. They always say like the roster doesn't matter. You have Brian Kelly, bro. Like the players are the ones out there making the plays. Like I'm not calling Brian Kelly the best coach freaking ever. He does do some things that I don't agree with. I'm not saying they're wrong. I just don't agree with him personally. I didn't agree with some of the things Jay Johnson did in baseball for LSU, and he has 2 national championships in 3 years. So, that Brian Kelly is not a bad coach, like what people say he is. I don't think he's a bad coach. He frustrates me sometimes. I think the team is a bit unprepared at times. But when it comes to Brian Kelly, like if there's an issue at the start of the season, he usually fixes it as the season goes on. And that's what I love to see, because there were times with Coach O where there will be an issue and it just lasted the entire freaking season. And it just never got fixed. Brian Kelly fixes things. He is a CEO here at LSU, man. And I think that's really what we need. I still think that's what we need. I still think Brian Kelly can win here. Les Miles won a natty. Coach O won a natty. Brian Kelly can win a natty, bro. If you give, the amount of talent on this team, it's playoff worthy. Now, if he misses the playoffs this year, I'm going to become a bit of a doubter myself, because there's no reason this roster should miss the playoffs, man. I'm still on the Kelly train right now, bro. I'm still on the Kelly train right now, but he has to make the playoffs this year.
About LSU, let's go game by game here and give you our record prediction. First game at Clemson. Everyone's saying, I haven't won an opener since they won the national
that one scares me.
Well, I think they win this one. Now,
I freaking hope so, JD.
College football, top to bottom, number 1.
I can't take another week 1 loss, bro.
In production, there's a lot of stats to like about Clemson, but here's my thing. LSU needs it.
We need this shit, brother.
If they do not win that home opener, or not that home opener, but that opener, I should say, before they go home and play La Tech,
we need to go beat them. We need to go take over the fake Death Valley, bro. Like Death Valley Jr. Like I've seen that quote, Brian. I've seen that quote, Brian Kelly. You know what? There's people saying they don't agree with it. I freaking love it, Brian. Let me hear that freaking emotion, man. Let me hear that trash talk, bro. Like, this is LSU. Talk your shit, bro. Talk your shit, man. It's Death Valley Jr. Like, what? You gonna flame him for speaking the truth? Like, when you think about Death Valley, people think about LSU, bro. I don't care.
Kelly slammed his fist on a table last year when they lost to USC. I shudder to think about what he'd do to a table if they lost another opener against Clemson.
Bro.
I'll bet on the team that needs it.
Me too.
And LSU, they need it. So I think you get that win at Clemson. From there, you beat La Tech.
All right. Let me do my predictions real quick. Clemson, I'm going to win too, bro. I'm thinking we win here. I think this might be our hardest game of the year. Honestly, I think this is going to be our hardest game of the season. Just because of the circumstances. Just because of the pressure around Brian Kelly, the pressure around LSU to finally snap this week 1 losing streak. I think this is going to be and it's at Clemson. I think this is going to be the hardest game of the year. But LSU is going to get a quick little dub here. Win against Louisiana Tech. Florida is going to be a really close game, but I got us winning that one. That's what I said in the Florida predictions. A win here. I believe that's Southeastern. Louisiana. Ole Miss on the road is going to be a bit tough. But, we pulled it out last year, and I think we've gotten better than we were last year. I don't think, Ole Miss, we'll see. Austin Simmons can be really good. But I don't, it's a question mark, bro, that, I gotta win here, bro. Oh my God, where's the losses gonna come from? South Carolina at home, I got us winning that. I mean, last year was a bit dicey, but I don't think we'll have that issue again, man. Okay, what's a game that we're supposed to win that we might lose? Arkansas. We could. I'm just trying to think. Oklahoma on the road to end the season's a bit sketchy. But LSU does usually fairly well against Oklahoma. Dude, I could see God. I would say a loss. God, I really don't see us losing more than 2 games, and I'm finding it hard to pick out 2 losses on this schedule right now, to be honest. The 2 most likely losses, Clemson and Bama. Those are the 2 most likely losses. I'm just going to say 11-1, bro, because I don't think we lose both of those games. If we lose to Clemson, we'll probably lose 2 games this year. If we lose to Clemson, I say 10-2. If we beat Clemson, 11-1. A&M could be a bit tricky, but we usually beat them at home. Yeah, we only have 5 games away from home. We have 7 games in Death Valley, bro. And the 2 hardest games we have to play on the schedule are on the road, of course. But yeah, I would say it depends on this game right freaking here. Clemson. If we beat Clemson, 11-1. If we lose to Clemson, 10-2. That's what I'm saying.
You play Florida. Revenge kind of game for LSU. You get that win. You beat Southeast Louisiana. You get a win at Ole Miss. Kind of treacherous potentially going on the road post Southeast Louisiana and after a win over Florida, but it is what it is. Get that win. Then you have a bye. Then you play South Carolina. Now, South Carolina honestly had LSU on the ropes in that game a year ago in Columbia.
Will they be as good as last year, though?
A couple of times where you're just like, man, how did LSU find a way to get this done? I think South Carolina feels like they let that one get away last year. I think Lenora Sellers might be the best player in college football, not named Jeremiah Smith. I think you actually dropped that game to South Carolina.
Really?
But then you get
I'm
back
not
on the
saying
right
wrong. I'm not saying he's wrong.
You get a win. Sneaky. Diego Pavia. Gritty. Sneaky. But I think you get a win against
We
them
handled Vandy last year. We'll be all right.
Hopefully not too sleepy Nashville, but you get a win against them on the road. And then you play A&M in Baton Rouge. Same deal with the Florida game. Revenge game. Nussmeier remembers how that game went a year ago, where you're up in the first half and you think you're about to take over Kyle Field. Marcel Reed subs in. Things go south. All right, so I think you win that game, and I think that's honestly the toughest stretch of your schedule. Like South Carolina, at Vandy, A&M. I don't see a more difficult stretch of 3 games on LSU's schedule outside of that. And that's kind of the part I love about LSU when you look at what they're going to be here in 25. There is, and this is shout out Matt Moscona for kind of putting us on game here. There's no like super tough game followed by super tough game.
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
A lot of like chances to reset for LSU. Like, for example, you play A&M, you get a bye before going to Bama. Awesome. Then you play Arkansas. Arkansas is not going to be a walkover, but they're not going to be, I don't think, anything all that treacherous compared to what you have on the schedule outside of that. Western Kentucky, before you play Oklahoma. You get a win over Arkansas and Western Kentucky before you play Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma is going to be pretty good this year, to be real with y'all. I think John Mateer is going to be a dog, but I think you win that football game. So you finish the year with a record there of 11-1.
So you got us beating Bama.
Will put you in the SEC championship game. Now, do I have you winning the SEC? Make sure you're dialed into our show on Tuesday for our full prediction special where we'll predict conference winners, we'll predict national championship. But I'm very high on LSU for all the reasons I already told you throughout this video. But I feel good about the defense. I can talk myself into the offensive line. I love Garrett Nussmeier and his progression going into another year and him being able to, I think, actually have a better handle on what it's going to take in some of these games late in the year to go make LSU a playoff team and beyond. And then I love the fact that it's now another year under Brian Kelly, and I think his way of doing things has totally permeated throughout that building, plus the continuity at the coordinator position. So got LSU at 11-1.
JD, I damn well hope you're right, brother. If we go 10-2, 11-1, bro, we're in the playoffs, and I'm happy. I'm happy, man, you know? Now, for me, it wouldn't be like a just make the playoffs and I'm happy kind of thing. I'd want to win at least, you know, 1 or 2 games. I'd want to at least get to the semifinals, like the Final Four. I'd want to at least get there, bro. But, you know, I just want to make the playoffs, bro. That's what Brian Kelly needs to do to really, you know, keep me locked in. Make the playoffs. If you don't, I'm going to be doubting Brian. I'm just saying, brother.